Okay, in preparation for taking John Stewart's Louisville Slugger out to the track for the first time to let Terron Babbage at the controls, one of the things that I like to do is just go over the mapping, make sure the bike's right, and just see what we've got. Well, one of the things that I did was check the power in each gear and go in and check the mapping in each gear. Well, one of the things we found out was very interesting. What you'll notice is that the ZX-14R is actually making different horsepower levels in each gear. In first gear, now this testing was on pump gas, but in first gear we had 190 horsepower at 10,400 RPM. Second gear 204, third gear 210, fourth, fifth, and I took sixth out just to keep from cluttering everything, was right around 215. Now I'm going to go over and switch to another screen here to show you something that we found was very, very strange. Alright, so I know this could get a little complicated, so try to bear with me here. What I'm showing you is a dyno chart, and the chart is of a third gear run. What we kept finding was a bit of an anomaly. Now, peak horsepower in third gear, we've got 214, and the green line is showing that's with the throttle blades installed. All right, and if you look at the curve, we also have an analog input sensor that's attached to the secondary throttle plates. So when the throttle blades open, and you'll notice here, as the throttle blades open, they open gradually and the bike makes power. Now, this red line, occasionally what we would notice was if we open the gas too quickly, we would reach a condition that would put too much load on the engine. And when that would happen, the bike would go into some type of safety mode. It was a protection mode or a safety mode. And it would, if you look at this red line, it wouldn't allow the secondary throttle plates to open up nearly as quickly as it would under normal circumstances. So if you look at the chart here, at 8,000 RPM, when it was in this protection mode, the horsepower went from 185, dropped all the way down to 154. So what was happening was the bike, that's a 30 horsepower drop. It was trying to save the rider from hurting themselves. So to cure this problem, we thought, okay, the easiest and quickest way to do this is just remove the secondary throttle plates. So we went back in, duplicated this run, and that's what this blue line is. We whacked the gas open too quickly, caused it to go into the protection mode again. Well, that worked out great. So down in this lower RPM, look at what we've got. 79 horsepower at about 5,500 RPM, jumped all the way to 101. At 8,000 RPM, we went from 155 horsepower, we jumped up to 186. Even though our analog input sensor says, all right, the throttle blades are technically closed, since they weren't there, we got our full power. Now, our peak power actually suffered. We lost about 4 horsepower by removing the secondary throttle plates. But if you're racing, it's worth giving up several peak horsepower up top so that you don't accidentally lose 30 here, or, you know, whatever. In this particular case, 27 here, whatever. I'll take my 2 horsepower drop here to pick up 30 or 25 or whatever here all day long. So even though you lose peak power, we remove the secondary throttle plates to save our power all the way through the RPM range. Now, of course, if you look over in here, removing the secondary throttle plates does affect your mapping. It affected the mapping all through this area. So we had to go back in, adjust our mapping to get everything straight. But you know, our Brock's Performance customers, they get mapping to match all of this. So I know it might sound a little confusing and technical, but now when Terron gets on the bike, he doesn't have to worry about accidentally getting into this protection mode. And I'll be actually piloting the motorcycle myself once when it goes down the track first, just to check it out. Now we did end up going. We had a combination of circumstances here that didn't actually allow us to get the kind of power. This is right before we're going to the track. It's it's April 5th, so we didn't get our 227. Our 227 is probably not going to come back, and we didn't have any fresh MR12. So we're heading to the racetrack this evening with 220 horsepower. That's just going to have to do. It's amazing that, oh darn, we only have 220 horsepower out of a stock bike with MR12. I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But anyway, we'll let you know what happens with updates from the racetrack. We're getting ready to load the bike up and go, and we'll let you know what happens. Well, that was a interesting first outing, I guess you'd say. I remember being so much faster than I used to be. I managed to go out and not making excuses, being straight up. Hadn't been on a bike since the press release last, I don't remember, October, November. It's April now, so that's a little while. Definitely felt rusty, but the ZX-14, it's a fast bike. Now I had it set up for Terron. He's about 150 pounds in his street clothes. I'm 205 in my shorts, so you can figure me in for probably between 210 and 215 suited. I had the bike geared for him. The whole idea was me making some shakedown runs just to make sure the bike's okay. It hadn't been down the track. It's a stock motorcycle, but we did lower it. We lowered the front end, we lowered the rear end, we re-geared it. It has our Alien Head 2 exhaust, a Dyno Power Commander 5 with our mapping. Put on a steering stabilizer, our clutch mod kit with the 180 thousandths spacers, and quite frankly, a 42th rear sprocket on the back. I had a hard time getting the bike moving. I don't like putting a lot of RPMs on a bike to get them to roll, and I had a little trouble getting it moving. And then once I did get it moving, it just wanted to crawl right under me. So I fought a lot of wheelies. I managed to run a 928 at 154.68 miles an hour. That's the quickest I've ever gone at my home track. On my previous ZX-14s, in 4 years of trying, I managed to match my best pass ever. I ran a 613 at 124.83 miles an hour in the 8th mile. When I'm riding correctly and the bike's set up right, on my other bikes, I could run 6.0. So I can actually see me on the ZX-14R. Now this is stock wheelbase. We haven't extended it. We haven't done anything. It's got the rear passenger pegs. We haven't tried to lighten it up. Seriously, it's a drive around street bike. I can see me at 215. I know I can go 19s. I think with my head on straight and riding correctly, I can probably go some 9.0s. It'll be really interesting to see what Terron runs tomorrow. We're just going to put the bike in the trailer. It's going to sit here, and we're going to head to Edgewater tomorrow evening and meet John and Terron there and see if Terron can ride. I've never seen him ride. John's got a lot of confidence in him, so we'll see if these two regular guys can go out and and do well on the bike. The bike feels really strong. I think it accelerates very hard. I mean, seriously, pushing me almost 155 miles an hour. It's got plenty of steam. So we'll see what Terron can do tomorrow, and we'll let you know. See you then.
Cause all I do is win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make 'em stay out.
It's already proven, I got them birds moving. All I do is win, I'm allergic to losing. Yellow gold Cuban, 9 mil Rugen. I show you what to do with them, finish them, I'm through with them. They gon' have to jump me, it's gon' take a few of them.
Holy cow, 887, 158, 84. All right, wow. What a first outing for Terron Babbage and John Stewart with the Louisville Slugger. But before we start talking about these time tickets here, I just want to go back and help clarify some of this confusion about the throttle plates in, throttle plates out situation. I started thinking about it. I made a couple phone calls, and let me let you know what I found out. When I was in Vegas at the press introduction to try and keep the ZX-14s from wheeling at stock height, one of the things I did was I tried to leave it a very low RPM and almost intentionally bog the bike. Well, I would make these passes and they were beautiful. I'd get to the end of the run, I was like, okay, there's my 9-second run stock height, on a ZX-14. I'd look at the time tickets, I'm like, no, what happened? Instead of, a 9-second pass, I'd pick up a 10:22 or 24. Ricky Gadsden's even like, he said, Brock, that, it just didn't make sense. They look so good. Well, the bikes just weren't pulling. So I called Lee Pritchard up. Lee's been flying on his ZX-14R down in Florida. He's got an extended wheelbase. And he told me the same thing. He said, Brock, every once in a while, he said, I would take off. And he said, I thought I just messed up and left in second gear. Instead of running his 840 pass he'd been looking for, he'd get an 860. He thought he was just making a mistake. Well, we started putting two and two together after we'd see these runs, and the third gear run on the dyno that we showed you previously, the third gear just happens to be one of those gears and situations where we could simulate the load that the bike was seeing that would trip that protection mode or safety mode to get it to think that you were making a mistake. Lee thinks he may have actually been tripping his, maybe coming out of the burnout box when the tire would hook prematurely. The bike thinks, wow, you're in a situation where it could be dangerous. Now this is with the KTRC turned off. So we're not running it in regular mode. It's supposed to be turned off. Well, what we believe is that if you're in a situation where you floor the bike or you lose traction, the bike breaks traction control, whatever, this thing has so much power that when the power comes back on, instead of letting you loop over, even with everything turned on, we believe that Kawasaki engineers have built this in to keep it from looping over backwards. So when we're racing, it just makes sense for us to take that degree of inconsistency out by removing the flies. So even if the bike gets in that mode and tries to shut them prematurely on the racetrack, it's just easier for us to take them out. So that's what we did. Lee Pritchard did that. He didn't have any problems anymore. Terron, that's how he ran the bike. And you saw what just happened. I'm going to go ahead and go into his ticket here. Stock wheelbase, foot shifting, pipe, PC5, worldwide bearings, ceramic bearings. Even still has the stock tire. This is a street bike, rear foot pegs, bar ends. We haven't done anything to lighten it up. I just want to show you this ticket real quick. 153 60 foot, 391 in the 330, 582 at 129.47 miles an hour, 887 at 158.64. Terron was on it. You should have seen John Stewart. I thought he was going to fall out of the stands. He was just jumping for joy. Edgewater is one of these tracks where when the sun goes down, it has a tendency to get slick. Terron backed it up with an 899 on that particular pass. He went a 590 at 127. I saw him when he hit second gear. The bike squirreled all over the place. Otherwise, he'd have been right back in the 880s on his other pass. You know, wow. We call this project Regular Guys. You know, Terron, he's a local hero where he's from. Regular guy. He may not be so regular after this. He might get all kinds of job riding people's motorcycles. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this project for dragbike.com. We know we enjoyed it. Terron is just chomping at the bit to go and do this again. He wanted us to take, we had a 42 rear sprocket on there. He was having the same problem that I was having. When you get aggressive with the bike with this kind of power, it just wants to stand up in second gear. We're going to try and fit a 39 tooth on it, get Terron back out on the track, still foot shifted. He thinks he can go 870s on a stock bike with just bolt on, pour in, MR12 fuel in the tank. Really, it's amazing. So if you know you're out on the street, you see one of these things, you better think twice. The ZX-14R is the real deal. So anyway, Brock Davidson, Brock's Performance for dragbike.com. We'll see you next time.